All right, so we're going to be talking about all these different countries we've been learning about, how they're going to start to explore and go other places. Um, so we're going to look at the European motivation first, why they want to go across the ocean, why do they want to explore, and why do they want to travel. We're going to look at how the boats changed so that they could travel longer and farther. We're going to look at Portugal and Spain, how they kind of led the way. And we're going to look at the Dutch a little bit today. So you guys have all probably played that game Marco Polo when you've been in the pool. Marco Polo was actually an explorer, and he went and explored China. And for the most part, Europeans really had no interest or ability to explore foreign lands. But around the 1400s, people started wanting to make money. Money drives everything. And so with them wanting to make money, along with sailing techniques changing, they realized they could get in a boat, they could sail far away and go to new lands where they could make a lot of cash. All right, so the main desire for exploration, why do people want to explore? The first one is they just want money. They want new sources of money. They can trade spices, they can trade goods, and that will make them a lot of money. Demand was higher than supply, which meant merchants could charge higher prices. So because everybody wanted things like salt so that they could keep meat fresh since there was no refrigerators, they could charge a lot of money for salt, much more than it was worth, because everybody wanted it. Europeans also used their religion as a means to travel. So they wanted to go to other countries and convert people to Christianity. So that's another reason they wanted to explore. So how do they explore? There's a couple of improvements with technology on the ships. The first is that they built a ship called the Caravel. It's a lot sturdier. It has triangular sails, which are stronger against the wind. It has a large cargo area, so you can take lots of things with you to trade. And it has a shallow draft, which means it's got a really fat bottom, okay? And that means it can go closer to the shore. When you have a very tall ship, it can't go as close to the shore as you want it to. And then the last thing was that they figured out an instrument that was called the sextant, and that allows you to figure out your latitude and longitude so that you don't get lost in the ocean. So this is a picture of the Caravel. So you guys see how the sails are a triangular shape instead of a square shape. That allows them to pick up more wind and more speed. And you can see at the bottom of the ship that instead of it being a tall ship, it's a kind of a wide and fat ship. And that allows it to go closer to the shore. This is the sextant, okay? So this is the device that allows you to figure out where your longitude and latitude is. So you're able to use the sun and the stars to then map where you are so that you don't get lost, okay? And that's kind of important because when you're out at sea, if you get lost and you don't run out of food and fresh water, you're not going to survive. So Portugal's the first country we're going to look at. Portugal's over here to the left, right next to Spain. There we go. And their main explorer was a guy named Prince Henry the Navigator. Portugal is going to lead the way in changing the ship and those changes I just talked about and new innovations. They're also the first country to put a trading post on the west coast of Africa. So you can see where I kind of drew a red line there on the west coast of Africa. Prince Henry was the son of the king, and he was very enthusiastic. He wanted to go find treasure. He wanted to explore and do exciting things, and he wanted to spread Christianity around the world. Vasco da Gama, which maybe you guys have heard of him in middle school, sailed to the eastern side of Africa and reached southwest India. They were astonished by the spices, the silks, the gems that they found there. And da Gama's remarkable 27,000-mile journey was worth 60 times the cost of the trip. So that made them a lot of money and provided them with a direct sea route to India to continue making money. This allows Portugal to become very, very wealthy. So this is da Gama's route. He went from Portugal all the way around Africa over to India. Now, Spain, which is located right here, Spain is also going to start to make some claims. They see Portugal and they're jealous. They say, we want to do what they're doing. So in 1492, we all know Columbus sailed the ocean blue. He convinced Spain to finance a plan of his of finding a sea route to Asia. So he was trying to get to Asia, he was trying to get to India, and he ended up in the Americas. The Portuguese suspected Columbus reached Asia and claimed the land for Spain that Portugal had already claimed. Okay, this increased the rivalry between Spain and Portugal, and the Pope is going to have to step in to try and settle this fight between Spain and Portugal. And he creates what's known as the Treaty of Tordesillas. The treaty says, okay, we're going to put a dividing line, and it's going to be that Spain gets everything to the west, and that includes the Americas, and Portugal gets everything to the east, which includes modern-day Brazil. That's why in South America, in Brazil, they speak Portuguese, because that was settled by Portugal. So Spain got everything to the west, Portugal got everything to the east. Now, the Dutch, who's located right here, they're a tiny little country right there, they want to get into the game too. The people of this region had declared their independence in 1581, and they sent the largest fleet of ships into the world. They had 20,000 vessels, that means 20,000 ships. And they created what was known as the Dutch East India Company. And this company made money, made treaties, and could raise an army. They were much more powerful than the British East India Company. And eventually the Dutch drove out the English completely and took over the East Indies. So this is an important area that they made a lot of money in. So you can see where India is, where China is, and then the islands down here is where the Dutch East Indies are. So those spice islands, they're going to get pepper, nutmeg, cloves, silver, ivory. They're going to make a lot of money in this area. So at the end of the day, we just started off the unit with the Age of Exploration. It's competitive, it's expensive, but if you get to the right places like the East Indies, India, the west coast of Africa, you're going to make a lot of money. And eventually, we know that there's the discovery of the Americas, which is the New World. So we'll kind of get to a lot of these different aspects as we go. Later in the week this week, we're going to talk about how the slave trade from Africa is going to come into play here, as all these countries are going to begin to take more than just spices and cloth. They're now going to start to take human beings and trade human beings in the slave trade.